Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. My name is Dave and today I'm in my shed, my toy shed I like to call it because it's got lots of toys in there. And today I'm going to start doing some treatment on these side walls here. I'm going to be covering up what's there and putting some corrugated iron and timber along that wall. And in fact I'm going to do all of the walls in here eventually. So I'm going to be doing this wall here right across the top, and that wall over there, and then down the other side right over there as well. But today I'm going to start on just doing this section of wall here. Now if you're new to the channel, you can go back and have a look at some of the previous videos that we've done on working in this shed. Just to remind those that have been watching the channel for a while, in this particular build series I think there's 3 videos on building the mezzanine floor in here, which was done from a kit that I ordered online. So please go back and have a look at that one. I'll put the link in the description for those that want to have a look at that. Another video I did was starting to put the corrugated iron on the front of this wall here. I'll put the link in the description for that one. There was also a video on my tool wall that I put up there on top of my workbench that's very messy. I'll put a link for that one as well. So this is, if you like, a continuation of that series where I'm just working in the shed trying to do bits and pieces. And unfortunately I've got all this stuff here which I have to move. So one of the first things I've got to do is try and get rid of all of this mess here. So I've got an old 1981 Leyland Moke here which I'll have to move. This doesn't run, I don't think, currently, so I'll have to push that out of the way. And then I've got the wife's MGB under the car cover here. This does run, I'll just have to charge the battery in this and get this moving. So what I want to do is clear all this section of wall out along here and get rid of all this stuff here and move it out of the way so I can access the wall all the way along here. Now what I'm planning to do on this is to put a mixture, if you like, of corrugated iron on the bottom side of the wall, and then put some recycled pallet timber panels along the top here. And it'll start from up in that corner near where the door is, run all the way down here. And then I haven't actually decided where I'm actually going to finish it. One idea was to finish it here where this rack unit starts here, and then just inside the work area in here just to have corrugated iron. So I haven't actually decided on what I'm going to do exactly, but I've got to start somewhere. So let's go over and I'll just show you the corrugated iron that I've been collecting and we'll talk about that. So these are my corrugated iron sheets that I've been collecting. I was lucky enough to get onto a local turkey farmer that had a big turkey shed that was redoing the roof, and I bought some of these sheets from him. Now these sheets originally were 6 metres long, and I had to cut them in half to fit them in my trailer to get them home, and I've ended up with about, I think there's 60, maybe 70 sheets here of 3 metres long in each piece. So that's going to be great. I've got more than enough to do everything I want to in the shed. Now I've just left it out here in the open and the elements, trying to get it to rust a little bit more. You can see there's a little bit of rust on there, but not a lot. I've even had a go at trying to get into it with the angle grinder here to try and promote the rust a little bit. But this old, really heavy galvanised corrugated iron here is, or corrugated steel, is it iron or steel? Is so thick in zinc that it's very hard to make it rust. And I've looked at all sorts of concoctions and videos on YouTube about how to rust corrugated iron, and I've tried all sorts of things with hydrochloric acid and so forth in different mixtures, and white vinegar and salt, and I can't really seem to find the right mix to get it rusting any more than this. But I'm not really too worried about that, because if it's slightly brighter then it'll make the inside of the shed look a little bit lighter. If it was all dark and rusty it might look a little bit too dark. So I'm sort of happy with the look that I've got already. Now the only problem I have is that the length of these sheets are 3 metres long. As I said, they were 6, I had to cut them in half to fit them in the trailer, so they're 3 metres long. And they are, unfortunately, just a little bit short to go the full length from the floor to the top of my shed. Now inside my shed, from the floor level down there up to the top of where the ceiling starts to go off, my wall height is 3.3 metres and my sheets are only 3 metres. So it means that I'm slightly short on my sheets. And originally my idea was just to completely put the corrugated sheets along this wall and completely enclose the whole sides and ends of the shed. But then I started thinking about it and thought, well, that's going to be quite a dramatic look. You know, do I want it to look like that, or do I want to break it up a bit? So I thought, well, what I could do is, what if I just ran it from, you can see these wall girts that are down here on the ground up to this one here. And I think that's about 15 or 1600 mils, so about sort of 4 or 5 feet, something like that. So I thought, well, why don't I just cut my sheets down and just run them from there up to here, and maybe I can get 2 sheets out of a 3 metre sheet. I can put it on here and that'd be great. But then I was thinking about, well, what do I do on the top? And I thought, well, I quite like the idea. I've seen some videos on people that recycle old timber pallets and use recycled pallet timber. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that. Now, originally I was going to put the pallet timber down the bottom here and just have a shorter wall, you know, about sort of a metre or about 3.5 feet, something like that, off the ground, and then have the corrugated iron going up. But when I stood back and actually looked at what I'm going to have in here, I'm going to have the cars back in here. So I'm going to have probably this MG and the Coke Moke and things like that will still be in here. So then I started thinking, well, if my timber wall is only 1 metre high, it's going to be hiding behind all these cars and things, and you really, for all of that work, you're not really going to see the timber at all. So then I thought, well, if I actually run the corrugated iron up to the top of this wall girt here, then you can see some of the corrugated iron, and then if you put the timber on top of that, then you'll see all of the feature timber across the top of there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we've started off by running some power already down here, and I've had the electrician rough in a couple of power leads here, and that's going to go obviously behind where my corrugated wall is, and then the timber goes on top here. There is a section where, let me just come down here and spin around. There's a section here which is going to have a big LED TV on here. It's going to be mounted onto the wall. So when I get to that stage, I'm going to have to make sure that I've got a proper bracing and everything built in here that's going to take the weight of a large screen TV. Now, another thing I was also considering is, well, if I put a wall in here, so I've got the corrugated metal down below and the timber on the top, do I want to put some sort of insulation behind it here? Now, on the other side of this wall is the overhang. There's an awning where the other caravan and various bits sit, so it's never directly in the sun, and I don't really think on this particular wall I'm going to put any insulation in the wall because it never really heats up. And for us here where I am in the Hunter Valley, it's more about keeping the heat out. It gets cold, yes, in winter, but it's not like days and days of minus temperatures, and what I'm trying to do really is just to keep the heat out of it a little bit. But for this wall where it's undercover on the other side of the wall, I don't think I'm going to worry about it. Okay, so that's the game plan. All I have to do now is start moving all this stuff out of the way. And luckily the sign shop has been cleaned out a little bit. I've taken quite a bit of stuff out of there now, and I can move most of this stuff over there. So let's get started and move all this out of the way. Okay, with just a little bit of effort, I managed to move those two vehicles out of the way now, so that's opened up that wall. Just got to take down that banner there, and then I'm pretty right, I think. I've got a couple of welders and things in here to move. This old bookcase, and then I can get right into that corner. So that's all good. Righto, I think the next thing is to take a few measurements between my bottom wall girt down here. No, from the floor. From the floor up to about this level here. And start cutting some corrugated metal, and then we can start putting it on the wall. Right, I've got my tape measure on the ground now, and I'm just going to measure up to the top of my wall girt here, and it's a 1770 millimetres, so that's the height of my sheets. Right, I've just finished cutting all my sheets. So I've got, from the start of the door here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sheets along this section of the wall, and then another 4 up until the end here. So I'm pretty happy with that. I sort of tried to pick the sheets that were much the same in the pattern of the rust. They're not completely covered in rust, but I think I like this because it's a good mixture of sort of rusted and not rusted, if that makes sense, and I'm quite happy with that. I was toying with the idea of spraying some sort of clear sealer or something on top of this, and the idea of that was that it would intensify this colour and make the colour a lot deeper. But then I thought, well, if I do that, then these panels are going to end up being really shiny. So I don't know if I really want that. I quite like the look that it is now, where it's sort of this matte, sort of natural type of finish. So that's what we're going to do. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually start here and just work around this way forward, and then I'll start here and then work back. And the reason there is I want to try and get, if I lift this up, is just to get this to sit in behind there, so that's the look that I get. I'm not really worried about this big upright beam staying there. It sort of ties in, I think, with the metal. I might even put some sort of treatment or something on the front of it, but I think that'll do. And then on this side, what I'll do on this one is I'll start here on the other side and put this in, and then work from here back along this way here. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think it looks good. What do you guys think? You happy with that sort of amount of rust, or would you have liked to get something a bit rustier perhaps? Well, there we are. The corrugated sheets have been now fixed down and they're sitting nice and flat here against the wall. So I'm really happy with that result of what it looks like now. There's a little bit of area up the end here which I've still got to do in the corner, but I've got all this junk and stuff in the way, so I'll have to save for doing that for another day. But it all went pretty well. I just used these little Tech screws here and they screw straight into the wall girts and are holding those sheets nice and flat. I'll show you down the bottom what I did on the base of the sheets, and you can see down there what that looks like there. And I used a bit of this material here, and this is like a base plate material that you use for the metal stud walls when you make them. So this sort of sits on the floor and then the metal studs sit in these. And I was looking at this, I had some of it left over and I thought that would actually be quite a good idea just to finish off, make that a bit neater along there. It gives me now a flat edge that I can paint along there if I ever have to paint the floor again, or makes it easier to clean rather than going in and out of all the corrugation. So I'm happy with that. The look of the wall I'm happy with. It's got a bit of a mixture of sort of rusty sections and not rusty sections and oxidised sections. So that all looks good, that all sort of adds to it. It's all nice and flat, it looks quite nice. It's all tucked in behind this upright here. It fits in there quite nice and neatly. I'm happy with that. And I've run the sheets all the way down this wall here and I've finished it up just against where the tool board starts. So it runs into there and that looks quite nice and neat, finished against there. So that's that project done, putting on all those sheets. It really didn't take that long. I thought it might take me longer than it did, but it happened pretty quick. So I'm on to stage 2 now, and the second stage will be getting the timber to put up along here. And as you can see, I'm going to need a fair bit of it. So I'm using recycled pallet timber, and I don't want to buy the pallets. There are some places on the internet that sell second-hand pallets, but my idea, if you like, is to just use free pallets that I can find. So what I'm going to do is jump on the internet and see what is available in my local area. Okay, I'm just having a look on Facebook Marketplace to see what timber pallets I can find sort of in my area, and I'm just scrolling through the Marketplace page here, and up the top here I've just typed in pallets or timber pallets just to see what I've got. And I'm actually looking for a particular type of pallet. So I'm looking for something like this one that has the proper pine boards on them. A lot of pallets I have seen are made of plywood, which I don't really want. And there's a lot of pallets that are around like these ones that are actually owned by a third party company. So these ones are owned by Loscombe and Chep. So you can't really take these ones because they're actually owned by a company. So I'm looking for a particular type of pallet, but I can still see that there's quite a few around. Let's have a look at this one. This one is close by to me. It's not too far away and it's got the right sort of timber on it that I need. Let's just have a look at it. It just says very nice timber on these pallets. The cost is $0 in stock, so that's a possibility. There's some more down here. And this one says, I'm just reading the description here, it says Monday to Friday, 7 till 4 p.m. only. Take as many as you like, no holds, please do not message. So a lot of these listings are the same. They don't really even want you to tell them you're going to come and pick the pallets up. You can just rock up with a trailer and get them. So they look all right. These ones look good. They're not too far away as well. Check out every few days as more will constantly be put out. So that's good. So what I think I'll do is I'll get a bit of a list of ones that are close to me and go and have a look at them and sort of pick through the ones that I think will be suitable for the project that I'm looking for. And I've got a list. I think I can probably get about 10 spots. Now, it may be the case when I get to them that they won't be there because this is coming into winter and people are picking up these free pallets and cutting them up as firewood. So it's just a bit of a hit and miss thing, but at least it gives me an idea where I can start, and we'll get the trailer on the back of the truck and we'll go and see what we can find. Well, I've been driving around for about an hour and a half and I really haven't had much luck at all. I went to a few places and there weren't any pallets there, or I went to a couple of others and the only ones that were left were really broken and pretty unsuitable for what I want to use them for. But then at the number 6 I had on my list, the 6th place on my list, I went to, and they had some pallets that I think will be suitable. So I loaded those up, got almost a trailer full, and just heading home now, and we'll have a look at what they look like. Okay, so let's just have a look at what I've managed to get. And there we are there. I don't know how many I've got in the trailer. I think maybe sort of 12 or 13, something like that. And the ones that I wanted were these ones that have these boards or these planks. A couple of places I went to, they actually had the plywood top on them, which I don't really want. I wanted these boards here that I can pull apart, and there might even be some hardwood ones in there as well, but that's pretty good. So all this is from one place, and I've had a discussion with the owner of the business, a very nice guy, Tom, and he's going to keep some more out for me. So in about a month's time, I'm going to go back and get some more. He's going to keep them out. I don't know, once I start pulling these apart, I'll get an idea of, you know, like the surface area or the square meters that I can get per pallet. But these are all pretty good. Like this one, for example, is really nice. The boards in are nice. This one's been out in the weather a little bit, but I don't mind that sort of grey look at all. Some of them are a little bit broken, but again, I can just cut those off and have all sorts of different heights when I do the wall, and probably the more haphazard is, probably the better effect it's going to be. But that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that lot there, so I'll get those out and start pulling them apart. Okay, so this is how much timber I've ended up from that single pallet. I've pulled every board off the pallet, and you can see it laid out there. And I would think I've probably got about 1 metre across there of timber, and some of the larger bits are 1 metre high. Some of the ones are a bit smaller there. What I was trying to do, in the reason for pulling this apart the way I did, is I wanted to try and keep some of the ends in here that had the nail holes in them, and I wanted that sort of effect. Now, what you also just saw was that I was cutting those nails off with the grinder, cutting them back to the timber. So I'm going to leave the nail heads in there because I quite like the look of having these nail heads in there. And I think if they continue to rust after a couple of years, that'll even give the wall a little bit more of an effect. But the problem there is that you can't obviously run this through a planer or a thicknesser to dress the front of this up, because the nails are actually still in here. But I'm not going for that sort of look. I'm not actually going to do anything to this really at all. I might give it a light sort of sand, and then I'm just going to put an Estopole on it. So I'm not going to run it through a planer or a thicknesser. But if you were, then you would have to make sure that you get all of these nail heads out of the timber. The other problem in pulling apart a pallet like that piece by piece with a jimmy bar is that you will destroy the ends of it, and sometimes you'll actually crack the board, so you actually do more damage to it than if you just did a straight cut with a saw across there and sacrifice that much, rather than try and pull it apart and then potential of actually splitting that timber. So really that bit of board's no good. I'll have to cut that all the way back down to here somewhere with the saw and throw this bit away. So I guess there's pluses and minuses of doing it both ways. I'll get another pallet, and what I'll do is I'll show you the way that I do that one, when I just, rather than pull it apart piece by piece, I'll just get the circular saw and just cut it out easier. Okay, with this one I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to use my circular saw here, and I'm just going to cut down the edge just inside where these nails are, and that's going to make it a lot quicker to get through this pallet. The last one, when I pulled this one completely apart, to get every board out of it, it took about 20 minutes, I think it was, and this one will take a lot less. Okay, and that's what we ended up with, the pallet that I just cut the ends off. Now these ends aren't square. I will actually put those in the drop saw and just make sure that those ends are nice and square, so when I put it on the wall they all line up. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. You can see there's lots of, this piece here for example broke on the centre part, but I can still use that. It's still got probably 600mm, 2 feet or something like that, which I can use. And the good thing about when you break these pallets up is you get all different sizes of timber. So you have some narrower ones, some ones that are this size, and then the bottoms you'll have are a thicker timber again. So you do end up with a bit of a mix. So that's the whole idea of creating the wall, that it's not the same, it's all going to look different. Well, there we are, folks. I've been cutting away for just over an hour now, and I've emptied out my trailer over there. So I went through 6 pallets, and this is the result of 6 pallets of wood that I've managed to get out of it. And you can see that there's some that are shorter, some that are longer, depending on the size of the pallet. And also the wood itself changes a little bit. There's some lighter bits, and there's some darker bits, there's some newer looking bits, and there's some older looking bits. So I think what I'll do is when I put this up on the wall, I will just lay them out and try and get a bit of a mixture of the old and the new, and the bright and the dark, just so it looks a bit sort of haphazard. That's the whole idea of what I want the wall to look like. But that's not a bad harvest, if you like, coming out of 6 old pallets. And this is probably half of what I've got in total now. I do have probably about the same amount in the shed that's stacked up already, and I'll probably start putting this up on the wall and then just make a decision on how much more I think I'll need to get. I will need to get another load of pallets, and I'll probably go out in another week or so and ring some of the contacts that I got this lot from and see if I can get some more, and that should be enough to do the other side of the shed. Now I think I've got enough of my pallet timber out there to do along the length of my wall here. Now I've had a pretty good couple of days. I've managed to get all of my rusty recycled corrugated sheets onto the wall behind me, but I am mindful of the fact that this video is getting a little bit long. It's running up to about 30 minutes. So what I would ask everybody to do is to come back and join me for part 2 of this video series, where I will start to put my recycled pallet timber onto my wall. So thank you everybody for watching today's video. I really do appreciate everybody's support. Please share, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.